Alright guys, I wanted to do a bit of an update now that we are in the international break, and I think it's only right that we look into the pressing news, or the latest news really, with Man United, and that is Erik ten Hag's future. Now there's been a meeting taking place on Tuesday that was obviously in part to discuss our start to the season. And as it stands today, so Thursday the 10th of October, Erik ten Hag is still the Man United manager. And the first video I made on this channel, I actually looked at the 7-game run from the last international break until where we are now, and examined how I felt it was an opportunity for ten Hag to really get the season going, and also kind of put some authority on his name, where he could really say, I've earned this chance and I will be the Man United manager. We obviously know how that went, but just as a quick recap, the 7-game run went as follows. We started off with 2 wins, 2 clean sheets, but probably against the 2 weakest teams we faced on this run, so Southampton and Barnsley. But wins are wins, can't complain about that. Then Crystal Palace, a performance that was very good. Performance that was actually, I think, the best in terms of it was the culmination of what we'd been trying to do all season up until this game. And we pressed well, we moved well, and we controlled the game. And I think this is the closest we got to delivering the game model, as Erik ten Hag has been referring to it. From there, the wheels really came off. I mean, a 1-1 draw against Twente, okay, bit underwhelming, but then there was that chance to get back on track against Tottenham, complete implosion. Then on to Porto and the 3-3 draw that went up and down and eventually looked like an okay result. And then, weirdly, quite a decent result with a 0-0 away at Villa Park. Now, I'm going to say at this point, my verdict on this is we've gone from the opportunity to, well, as the title says, opportunity wasted. And I think that ten Hag's position is almost untenable at this stage. I mean, we're not scoring goals. We're still suffering from big defeats, Liverpool, Tottenham. And on balance, outside of those 2 games I just mentioned, we've not even had the most difficult opponents so far. I mean, amongst fans, the standing is low, the games are boring, and I think that the opportunity that I described that really would have been not even winning 7 out of 7 games are realistic enough. I think I said, 4 wins and a draw might be all right. 4 wins, 2 draws, 5 wins, 2 losses, something like that would have been all right. But we ended up with 2 wins, 4 draws, and weirdly only 1 defeat, which kind of makes it seem less dramatic in a way, but the performances that have gone with that and how that's been comparing to what everyone else has been doing, 14th in the Premier League and 21st in the Europa League, really hasn't been a good look. I mean, we went from last season where I think I still had some patience because I felt there was mitigation. I mean, there were injuries and there were so many injuries, and while there are still some injuries now, those injuries to me aren't season defining. I mean, they're injuries you have to work around because realistically most teams have at least 1 injured player, if not 2 or 3. There are new players bedding in, but so are there everywhere else for the most part. And I mean, of course you can say City, Liverpool, maybe not, but teams we're really competing with, Chelsea, you're looking at that, Tottenham, same sort of deal really, and I don't think it's really much of an excuse. Just to sort of underline this is our worst ever start to a Premier League season, and actually worse than last season when we finished 8th, and that is an extreme worry. And as I said, I don't think the opponents on the whole in the league as well, some of the games that we've not done so well in, Brighton, I think we should have got something from it, Palace we should have won. Where we're dropping points as well is quite concerning because, we're just not seeing that consistency in performances, at least since Crystal Palace. Up until Palace, as per my review, I was reasonably happy as how things were going, and I had that hope that if we build on this, then we're going somewhere, but it's just not there, is it? Changes I can see, definitely the shape off the ball. I think the fact that we're not such a direct team all the time. Dallo is inverting to create those overloads. Those are some good points and things that we have seen even through the run of the last 4 games. But those still bring questions. Is Dallo being caught out of position because we don't hold the ball? Is Rashford isolated as a result? With our pressing shape, are we still asking too much of the wide players to cover and get across and defend these spaces? With that also, the defensive solidity. When we were attempting and I think delivering on the game model, still lost 3-0 to Liverpool. Since Palace, I've seen 4 different games, as I said. Uninspiring draw, in disarray against Tottenham, roller coaster versus Porto, and then defensive stalemate versus Villa. It doesn't really point to any plan or anything being delivered on a consistent basis, and I think that's really important when you are acknowledging that maybe you're not going to have the best season. There is a rebuild. At least we can see, okay, where is this going? And you might have a game off, maximum 2 games, have a 4-game run at the start of the season where there's nothing recognisable in terms of change or what you're saying it's going to be. That is a really, really big concern. On top of that, selections. Everything's changing often in midfield and attack. A guy has been brought in, doesn't really play. Casemiro, so pivotal for 2 seasons, not really playing. Eriksen seemingly out in the cold, back in, flavour of the month. Bruno not really doing as well as he can, but not being taken out of the team. The forwards not scoring, but also, Rashford plays 45 against Porto when he's playing well. We're looking at other things in that regard in terms of Garnacho playing left and then right, and then Ahmad. When he does play, does well. Is he having the production? But none of them are getting the run of games to actually, I think, achieve that and get there. It's really, really difficult to understand what is going on in the mind of Ten Hag, and I think that is a big, big problem, and I think that is why I'm actually surprised that he is still here. I think it would have been fair enough to say, actually, we want to look at something new, even in the face of not really knowing what that might be, because I don't really see, or have never seen, a manager turn this around from the point that we're at, where the form has been bad for more than a year, and now the players are back, we're still not seeing it. There are 2 buzzwords floated around this: game model and rotation, and they're words that have really been coming from Ten Hag, I think, since the Ineos investment. Now, game model is obviously, I think, an important one. You're giving a direction how to play, and I think that's actually something that was lacking before. But we're not seeing the game model, or at least I can't tell what it is, or I thought I knew what it was, and then it disappeared. And then rotation, Ten Hag infamously never rotated. He was never one for changing his team, even for weaker opposition in cups. He would keep that team there. All of a sudden now, he's all about the rotation, and I don't think I quite believe it. I'm not sure he quite believes in the idea of a game model either. I think he is the type of coach who feels that in this job, with the players he's got, the squad he's got, that he would rather chop and change and work his way around it. And he probably thinks that he's maybe a bit vindicated against Aston Villa in what he did there. But that isn't what, to our understanding, is being asked of him. And this is why I really feel like this is almost a shock that Ten Hag is still here. And I like Ten Hag. I want it to work out. I'd love nothing more for him to, shove it back in my face and go off and reel off 5 wins in a row when we get back. But as I said, I don't see how we get from playing how we did in the last 4 games to winning 5 games in a row. I just don't see it. Now there are some favourable fixtures on the horizon, and that could be a silver lining. But at the same time, I'm thinking, if we can't get anything out of that run of fixtures, what position are we going to be in, and what games are we going to have to get something from to turn it around? I think there's a really, really big choice that seems to have been made in retaining him, and I really think that the season is very much on the line when this run of games comes up. I'm afraid to say, not looking forward to it so much. I hope nothing more than to see a win against Brentford that sets off a really good run, but overall I'd say opportunity absolutely wasted, and I think there's definite reasons to point the finger at Ten Hag for that. I'm going to do a preview of those upcoming games, I think in a few days, maybe when I'm sure that Ten Hag will still be here. But yeah, so far not so good. Let's hope that it all turns around quick. Catch you in the next one.